This is the Retirement Mentality channel. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. If you're coming back, thank you very much for returning. Hopefully that's because you found value in the previous video that you watched. This is the Retirement Mentality. This is where we want to change your mentality about retirement. Your retirement isn't the way your parents' retirement was anymore. It's about creating passive income and trying to get there a lot sooner. People don't want to work into their 60s anymore. So on this channel, I talk about things like personal finance, real estate investing, creating passive income. And today we're talking about stocks. So if those things are things that are of interest to you, you are in the right place. Thank you for coming to the channel. So tomorrow is the big day. The Airbnb IPO is tomorrow. This is much anticipated. They were supposed to do this thing several times over the last 2 years. I think the first time they talked about going public was in 2018. So they've postponed it, they've delayed it, and it's finally going to happen. And there is a lot of buzz going on around this. So we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen with the IPO for Airbnb. I'm going to break it all down for you right now. Let's get into it. The first thing that Airbnb has going for them in this IPO is all the excitement that has been generated about this. They're saying it could be a huge IPO. They're going to raise maybe $3.3 billion with a B. This thing is going to be big, and there's a lot of anticipation. So what does that mean for the stock? Well, out of the gate, it could just shoot up and skyrocket because everybody's in a frenzy. Or it could hover right there because there's some debate about the opening price that they're going to open with. If you've been in the market lately, you know that stock prices just haven't had a lot to do with valuations. It's not like the old days where you just read the price earnings ratio or the dividend yields or 3 or 4 different key metrics on a stock and know what they should be valued at and where they should be trading at. It seems like emotion drives stock prices in this market, and there's a lot of emotion with this stock. So that's an indication that the prices could shoot up right out of the gate. But on the other hand, the new valuation that they're coming out with, they're valuing this thing like everything is great in the world is open for business, and there's no pandemic, and the company's just raking in money hand over fist. So that could be a negative to the IPO opening up tomorrow. Just about a month ago, the anticipated price for this IPO to hit the market was between $44 and $50, and now it's between $56 and $60. And that gives a valuation of the company at $42 billion with a B dollars. That's just huge numbers. So with the valuation coming out like that and sort of really given the value of the company like pre-pandemic pricing, you're not, a lot of times when these new companies, usually IPOs were for newer companies. This company's been around for a while. They've got a track record. We know what they're doing. So coming out of the gate, if it comes out at $60 a share, like, who knows what's going to happen right out of the gate. But I think that they're overvaluing the company at that price, especially given all of the US and Europe and these places around the world are not really open for business yet. Just in September, they lost about $700 million, and that's not a huge deal for a company of this size, but the problem is most of the losses from the travel industry happened in March and April, maybe into May. So they should have been rebounding since April. So to show a $700 million loss in September is a little bit worrisome for me when I look at the numbers. Regional travel has been great. I mean, my Airbnbs in Florida hit record numbers this year. So travelers wanted to go to the beach. Travelers didn't get on airplanes. People are still booking Airbnbs. When this whole thing started back in March, we still had a lot of snowbirds in Florida, and a lot of those snowbirds were staying in the big high-rise condos right on the beach. And they started to freak out a little bit. And I thought I was not going to make any more money for the year. They're threatening to start shutting down hotels and Airbnbs and close everything down. And before they closed everything down, my phone started ringing off the hook with people that were staying, these older snowbirds who were staying in these condos, and they didn't want to touch elevator buttons and get in public pools and be around people. So they started migrating out of those big condo buildings and into my single family Airbnb properties that I had. So it actually turned out to be good for me. Right after I filled everything up, they started locking things down. They closed down rentals in Florida. And that's all the losses that I'm talking about everybody started having in April. So anyway, I came through it good. Airbnb has turned around, turned the corner. People started traveling again. People wanted to get out of these big cities and go to go on vacations regionally, not on airplanes. So Airbnb started picking back up, and their business model started to, regain the ground that they had lost. They actually raised a lot of debt when this thing first happened because they were freaking out too. So they have a lot of debt on their books that's not at a very good interest rate right now too. So that's something to consider with the valuation of the company. I'm not going to get too far into the weeds with all the numbers. Since in this video, I'm not going to go too far into the numbers and the earnings per share and all those types of things. I didn't want to talk about just what I think personally about some of the challenges that Airbnb has ahead for itself. One is their CEO. A lot of people want the CEO to step down. This guy started the company, and I don't think his heart's totally into it. I think he's ready to step down. So I think after this IPO happens, he probably will, which would be a good thing for the company. But I think the company has business model challenges also. Through in March and April, when all these cancellations started happening, first, the people wanted to cancel their bookings because they didn't know what was going on in the world, and they got mad at Airbnb because they weren't refunding the money. So then they had all these angry guests calling them. So then they reversed it and they started giving everybody their money back. And then they pissed off all of the people who owned the Airbnbs, the hosts, and then they reversed it again. So they kind of waffled on what they were doing with cancellation policies. And by doing so, they basically managed to piss everybody off. They pissed off all the hosts, they pissed off all the guests, and people were looking at new ways to book properties. And people started looking at hosts like myself, like the worse their customer service was, and the more money that I started losing on cancellation policies, the more I started to dig into how much am I actually paying Airbnb. And people realized we're not paying the $400 sign-up fee that we did in the beginning. You're paying over 6% in a lot of cases of your booking fees to Airbnb. So we started looking for new alternatives. I actually am in the process of building a direct booking site right now, which I'll link to in the description down below. I've got 3 different sites I'm in the process of building out right now so that people can get out of the Airbnb model and the VRBO model where they're taking percentages of your booking fees. Airbnb's at the end of the day, it's just a technology company. They don't provide any products. They don't have places for you to rent. They're just a technology company that introduces a person who wants to book a place to a person who owns a place, and they just marry those two together. And there's a lot of direct booking sites like mine coming out, and what we want to do is facilitate that. And we're just going to charge, I'm going to charge probably $150 or so, maybe $179 per year. And then the owners and the guests can talk to each other directly, which is kind of how this whole thing started. So I think we're going to kind of go back to the old ways with this. And then, then the owners can create their own cancellation policies and they can talk to the guests. And when there's a problem, they can work it out. And you don't have Airbnb holding this or holding reviews over your head. So I think their business model could struggle in the future. And that's one of the main reasons I am going to sit on the sidelines for this IPO. I think that their price opens at 60 or even at 56. I think it could go up initially at the beginning, but then I think it's going to come back down as the buzz wears off and people kind of sober up and realize, whoa, wait a minute, we've been waiting for this for 2 years. Now it's happened. And we maybe got excited. It's like when you're at an auction and you keep raising your paddle up bidding because you got caught up in the excitement of it. I think that could happen tomorrow. So I am not going to be buying Airbnb tomorrow. I'm going to sit on the sidelines. I'm going to wait and see what happens. And in the meantime, be sure you check out my direct booking sites. If you have vacation rental properties, I have one for beach houses called findabeachhouse.com. I have one for houses in the mountains called findamountainhouse.com. And we're going to be pushing out a third one for lake houses. So if you have a property on a lake, be watching for that, findalakehouse.com. So we're going to be pushing all those out. So check that out. And as always, you know what to do. If you found value in this video, hit the like button down there. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to build this thing up. And like I say, we cover lots of topics: stocks, real estate, investing, financial freedom, financial independence, the FIRE movement. All those things are topics that we touch on here. If you would like me to do another video and kind of go more into the numbers of the Airbnb model, leave me a comment down below if you disagree with me and you're going to gobble up as much Airbnb stock as you can tomorrow, or you're going to sit on the sidelines like me, leave me a comment down below. I'm curious to see what the rest of you guys are going to do. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.